Everything about both femininity and masculinity have been under attack, and it is just that now the results are coming in front of people in very obvious ways that all of a sudden there is an awakening happening. There is no such support for males. To make matters worse, females are hypergamous, so it is now getting increasingly difficult for men to compete with women, as women are taking men's jobs and men's role as a provider is decreasing. Philosophers like Osho and other guiding people like Acharya Prashant are hyper-feminists. They have written to focus only on female children because, according to them, the end result of developed masculinity is war. The way men and women are looking at each other right now is just gone to shit. The inner feminine within all of us is being raped. Everyone is confused about who the fuck they are at the deepest level in some shape or form. If today you will try to look at what is happening in the world from any perspective or any way, if you will try to look at all of it, it is bad and it is ugly, and there is suffering, silent suffering, there is distance, there is loneliness within families, within friends. It is very ugly what the ground reality is. The biggest challenge which we as again a species are facing is that Namaste everyone, how's it going? I have received a very disturbing email from a particular gentleman who's very afraid of what is happening to women and how this is going to affect the sexual market overall, or basically the relations between men and women. And I understand that this is something which is actually a very common concern amongst a lot of males, because I work with a lot of you, as well as from my own observations, I can feel a lot of disintegration happening on both the side of men and women in regards to the way they look and relate with the opposite sex. And because I knew that this is what the plan is, to destroy the union force between the masculine and the feminine, that has been the reason why I left everything that my life was about, and I decided to work for the cause of masculinity, so that there are still some honorable men left, in order to preserve lineages and genetics and virtues and values which are the right way. Because everything about both femininity and masculinity have been under attack, and it is just that now the results are coming in front of people in very obvious ways that all of a sudden there is an awakening happening. But some unfortunate little creatures like me and a bunch of other lovely souls on this planet were hit with a lot of damage and hurt and pain at a very deep level at a very early stage, because a lot of these people were supposed to become the beacons of light for those around them, or whoever had to turn this into a purpose of their life, etc. All of this was needed. That is why you have somebody like me sitting in front of you with this particular aspect of my work, which deals with masculinity as well as femininity, because in the recent few years I've had a lot of women coming to me for help. But I don't feel personally qualified because I'm not a woman, or I haven't been via that journey. But if you analyze the work that happens under the name of Sarhad compared to what happens under the free man, there are distinctions, and the distinctions are such that they are meant to serve anyone who is willing to learn. And we are trying to do a good job despite all the forces which act against us. So, let me read the email that this very disturbed gentleman has sent me. Hi sir, I'm a regular viewer of your YouTube channel and found your guidance really helpful, so thank you for that. I was watching one of your videos regarding sexual market value concept and have some questions which I was not able to clear despite watching all of your videos on both of your channels. That's because we don't put the best stuff on YouTube anymore because it's not worth it. Anyway. So you can check out our websites, if you want to go deeper. These days, girls are getting into civil services, which is government jobs in India, for those of you who are watching this from outside of India. judicial services, and each and every powerful, charming post. They are getting benefits from the government too. Reservations for females have taken the situation to another level. For example, in Bihar, which is a very large state in India, there is 50% female reservation in each government job and 33% in state public service commission jobs. There is no such support for males. To make matters worse, females are hypergamous, so it is now getting increasingly difficult for men to compete with women, as women are taking men's jobs and men's roles as a provider is decreasing, and men's role as a provider is decreasing, despite the core of two genders remaining the same, that is mother and fathers. That's These are some very truthful observations, all right. Philosophers like Osho and other guiding people like Acharya Prashant are hyper feminists. They have written to focus only on female children because, according to them, the end result of developed masculinity is war. Well, if it's for the right reasons. I find this situation very disturbing and my mental health is degrading, as I find myself in a society where males are demonized and treated like shit. People please guide us regarding how to deal with this situation. Please make a video or reply to this email. I should be really thankful to you. This is Hemant from India who has sent this email. And let's get into this, because the thing I am worried the most about is, because of the current complete degradation of society that is happening, the last thing I would want is that, and I think the way men and women are looking at each other right now is just gone to shit. All right. And I think it has been made worse because, it started with, like, this is the reason why I do the work also that I do. And I left everything from my own life to start working for, the sake of love, ultimately, is what I'm realizing in a lot of ways. But like the masculine and the feminine, to not let that gap which is being created in between them and, divided and disturbed and literally raped, the inner feminine within all of us is being raped. All right. Masculine has been weakened, and it started with the socio-political movement of feminism, a few decades back, which, if you will study about, you will realize that the way it started was, and what it is today is, it's like not, it's totally marketing oriented, profit oriented, politics oriented. There is nothing about, if you take one woman and you analyze her life, is she happy, and is she feeling wholesome, is she feeling nourished, is she feeling desired, is she feeling respected, is she feeling that people are recognizing her worth? Because if you just analyze what's happening in society, yeah, there are women in lovely corporate companies and wearing suits and working, but they are also the ones who are, going to therapists and psychiatrists, and their marriages have already had two divorces, and a bunch of those kind of things. So, like, you can't avoid, and I know correlation does not equate causation, but I'm going to speak on all of this from a place which is beyond pragmatism or practicality. All right. And I'm going to speak on this in a very random fashion, but like with truth that only those who want to wake up to their own truth can feel and sense and verify for themselves whether it's true or it's not. So, this email is very correct, all right, in terms of its observation, because he has seen my original first few videos, like where I personally used to make videos for YouTube, and I spoke about sexual market value, sexual economics, all of that, and that came from the psychology pillar of the Freeman ideology. And we have a bunch of courses related to understanding how the brains of men and women work in relation to each other. because that is not going to change. A lot of the animalistic nature is not going to change. But the animalistic nature operates on different levels of consciousness. All right. And that consciousness is what has been destroyed by certain geopolitical forces which are operating, behind the layers which we will never be able to cross. So, like, regular people like us think that the president and the prime minister of our country are the leaders. They are not. They are also servants to somebody, and they are also put there by people we have no idea about, to be honest, as well as if you will analyze governments today, the entire structure is going to break apart in the coming years, in my opinion, because the governments are what people are afraid of instead of the government, which should be afraid of people if fear should be there in the first place. So I personally feel in the coming few years, maybe not in our lifetimes, but like I have a feeling that we will return to monarchy and the kingdom method of existence instead of these democracies or kleptocracies which are horrendously failing from within. There is complete breakdown. Anyway, so coming to the different points over here. So one main observation which I'm seeing is that he's talking about sexual market value, which has to do with men who have status and power, etc., not necessarily equated to money, but they are the ones which are desired by females. But now that females are getting their own ways of accumulating power and status, which is only via money, because that is what is being sold to them, that in a way what he's pointing out is that now most men are not good enough for most women, and it is getting difficult for men as well, which makes sense because the world, the way it is running right now, it's like it's a massive illusion. All right, so like for example, sex is everywhere now. All right, but to be honest, in order to do it and in order to get sex with any of the millions and gazillions of girls totally portraying themselves on Instagram under the name of a digital creator, it looks so easy, right? It looks that it's right here, it's available all around us. But unfortunately, that's equally how sexless people are right now. And even the ones who are able to go through all the complicated steps, or the things they think they need to do in order to attract a woman, after that the sex is basically almost non-existent, because even if it's happening purely at a bodily level, and there is no sense of rejuvenation from it, and there is no sense of dissolution with it. All right, so he's talking about things like reservations, this, that, etc. I get it. I'll come to that. Another particular point, I don't know if I mentioned this in the start or not, is that I'm very worried about, first, the entire work was being done around feminism and femininity and blah, 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 blah. It was actually never about femininity. And now all of a sudden that masculine side is coming in, all right, which we have been working for like 8-9 years, but now you're starting to see on the internet because of another planted seed like Andrew Tate, in my opinion, because that particular work has happened, like the whatever I know about all that media surrounding this particular person, and this is no disrespect to the person, and I don't know if there is more beyond this work, so pardon me if my knowledge is limited, but sometimes you don't want to go deeper because already all the dots are connecting, so I have a feeling that most of the people who have been influenced by Andrew Tate's work are going to really hate women, which is what I do not want. Even if you hate women of today, I can understand that to a particular extent. What I don't want you to hate is femininity or that feminine power. I don't want you to hate that energy, because you're gonna fuck your life at levels which you have no idea about. All right, I don't interact with most of today's women. I don't have sex like how my life was before. Like, I can't imagine as a guy who doesn't have sex, and it's not voluntarily. All right, it's just that that's what has happened to quite an extent. It has almost disappeared from my life. And what I'm trying to bring your attention to is that, but my relation with the feminine has actually deepened and increased and become more beautiful, and it has translated into every aspect of my life. And that is why I'm very, very worried that all the youngsters, which are basically teenagers, on Instagram, who have been very, very heavily influenced by this Andrew Tate kind of work, and because that person also has a business model, I believe, where millions of little minions are now recirculating his work. I have come across that work speaking about women only at the psychological or current societal level, but it doesn't go deeper than that, and that is the worrying factor, because you have to realize one thing, that feminine force and feminine power is within you as well. Number one. Number two, the way you relate to that feminine source and that feminine power has a lot to do with how much abundance, prosperity, happiness, creativity, etc. is going to come in your life, and a sense of balance. All right. Now, the problem is that, let's come to the email where he's talking about so much reservation is happening, this and that. I am personally against all of this, because if somebody should get a position or if somebody should get a job, it should be based on, are they worthy enough for it, are they deserving for it, are they demonstrating their skill and appropriateness for it. Because what we have seen with reservations is that people have just misused them. All right. And obviously you can understand that it has a lot to do with politics and the vote bank and everything. So this is not even a point you need to mention to me, number one. But number two, you have to understand how deeply the government might be involved. And I'm not talking about any one particular country or any one particular government or any one particular political party. I'm just talking about, you have to understand that governments are being used against people. All right. If governments were actually doing good, we would over time need them lesser and lesser and lesser. So there is no such support to males, etc. 100%. 100% there is no support to males. Yeah, I mean, you're waking up now, like, bro, like, this is, please just ask your father how his life was. To make matters worse, females are hypergamous. Another very good observation, because on one side, all of this is happening at a societal level, but on the other side, like, women are hypergamous, so they're meant to date up anyways, and all of this is going to make it worse. Now it is getting increasingly difficult for men to compete with blah, 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 blah. So let's come to one simple point here. If you are worried about your desirability as a man, because I'm going to first attack this at the most mundane level, all right, which is that a bunch of you guys are probably now worried about, are you going to be attractive to women anymore? Because even if you're working hard, even if you're hustling, like how the self-help YouTubers have sold it to you, you're still nowhere, because how much to beat the opposite gender at? Like, is it looks, is it money, is it, like, where does the competition stop? And I understand that, but let me bring it down to one very simple thing. All right. And those of our community, like, who have been walking on the path of the free man, would be able to bear testament to this, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are there who are not financially successful yet, or who are not good looking, etc., but because you have learned the kind of principles which have been shared under the conversations around earning freedom as a man and building yourself as a man, um, I'm sure you can bear testament to the fact that ultimately it is who you are, that that's what women are attracted to. All right. It's not about whether you are successful, like, and have a lot of money, or whether you're popular or stuff like that. I have seen people who are nobodies, but women can, really get attracted to them. I have been nobody myself in certain environments, and I've had women fall for me. I was traveling right now. I mean, I'm not personally active on social media, but, like, I think one particular picture was put. I was also in Southeast Asia, and I was in Vietnam, reconnecting with an old friend. And the first night itself, I was in sandals and I entered, like, the best club over there. And I was standing in one corner, and four different girls were trying to hit on me the whole night. And this is not me boasting or this thing. This is me trying to make it aware to you that if you're worried about your attractiveness simply because the entire sexual market game is being corrupted, the entire natural law and order of how evolution happens via procreation of two opposing forces getting attracted to each other, that is being meddled with right now. If you're worried about any of this, please understand one thing: don't be, because you just need to understand yourself. You don't need to understand money, you don't need to understand Instagram, you don't need to understand DMs, you don't need to understand texting, you don't need to understand anything, but simply become who the hell you are supposed to be, which is where nobody is paying attention. Every, like, if, like, I stay away from the world simply because I'm disgusted by it the whole time, because everything has become about money. Everything. Content is about money. This businessman generated so many crores, so left BPO job to own this thing. Like, if by mistake my eyes fall on a screen where YouTube is open, this is the crap you get to see. Same thing is Instagram. All right, in a different way, in an aspirational way, in a lifestyle way, the same shit is being sold. And today everyone is thinking, I had somebody who lives very close by where I am, and we had a random crossing into each other, which erupted into a very good conversation. And now again, those random crossings happen once in 6-8 months, and we end up talking. And he told me about how his son wanted a staycation in a five-star hotel for his birthday. And I can understand why the son wanted that, because he's probably a young teenager and he's seeing all of this, whereas his father is someone who's coming down to a very simple method of living. So it is affecting everyone, from not just women, it's affecting us men as well, and it's affecting our children, whatever is being put out into the world. But the thing is that you can choreograph shit to a certain level. That's why even the girls you are finding very attractive on these screens, and they're parading themselves around, when you will be actually in real company with them, if you can just get past the first layer where you're nervous and shitting yourself because you've not, like, the perceived value of this girl for you is much bigger than what she actually is. If you can just get past that, you will not want to spend another moment with probably 90% or more of these influencer girls. All right, and that's one example. Another example is, you're talking about all these women who are going ahead. They are not from the influencer side of women. Like, they're not a little attractive that they can take advantage of their own beauty to commercialize their life. I know you're talking about other women who are now using other methods to go ahead, because overall, if you will notice, the masculine drive within women is on a high. All right, so the masculine drive is on a high. That's why you're seeing them behave in more masculine ways. You're seeing them become competitive. You're seeing them be more competitive in the workplace, be more competitive just for no reason, also in many situations, even in relationships, etc. And you will actually see that this is having a direct biological effect on them, because energy is actually, or like, the subtle realms are where anything happens first, everything else happens next as a consequence. So, like, you will see that most of these women now are also having health related issues such as PCOS, PCOD is sky high. All right, depression, anxiety, etc., sky high. All right, and along with that, what else? Even if you will get their blood test done, you will see that the amount of testosterone women have today, they probably never had in historical data. All right, what else? Even body hair growth, especially, everything, like, at a different level. And this is not body shaming, which I'm trying to do right now. I'm not talking about acceptance or rejection. I'm talking about changes. If you will analyze and study over periods of time, anthropological data, you will find a lot of newness in the kind of sicknesses which we are having as a human collective species. A lot of new discoveries in our foods, our beloved medicines, and the stuff which they want to put in our body, etc. This is all very new and happening at such a rapid pace that before you can dive deep into understanding one phenomena, the next game plan is already underway, and it wants to rape you, as I said in the start. This is about raping our consciousness, and this is about raping our hearts, and this is about raping our own masculine and feminine within us. This year onwards, 2024, please bring your attention purely to that last level of internal confusion which is there within a lot of you. Please, if you do one thing this year, I don't care, you don't work, you sit at your parents' house for another year, you stay depressed, you like whatever, please, just all of us, even the ones who are successful, the ones who are not successful, the ones who are attractive, the ones who are not attractive, we are at a crossroads point in time right now where even the ones who are spiritual or the ones who are material, everyone is confused about who the fuck they are at the deepest level in some shape or form. All right? Everyone is. And you need to know that for yourself. All right? Because every decision which you're taking otherwise is just prolonging the amount of time which you will take to recognize that fact of yourself. All right? So please bring your focus there, because if you're going to worry just about things like this, you're in a state of fear, which is where they want you to be. All right? Like, you study this biologically, you study this energetically, you please study this in any way you want to study it. I actually wanted to speak on every emotion in my own personal website, sarhad.com, where I have spoken about things which I can't or will never ever put on social media. Neither does it fit for me under the domain of TFM, the free man, because TFM is way too big even for me. It's a path even I walk on. And Sarhad is a place where I can just personally express whatever the I want to express, including my naked pictures with your mothers, But yeah, I mean, that level of limitlessness is what I aspire for in life, whether as comedy or even truth, and that is why I have that platform. So you have to understand one thing that, sorry for that joke if it was too graphic, but you have to understand one thing that. You don't need to be worried, because what you need to do is become more centered in your own being, and you have to understand who you are, because when you start understanding who you are, it goes beyond the point of who you are as a man or who you are as a woman. All right? And if you understand the root, and if the root is healthy, everything around it blooms and radiates that health, radiates that happiness, radiates that love. All right? Because the biggest challenge which we as again a species are facing is that at an individual level, people are not loving themselves. All right? Almost every relationship which is being formed is about ego. Almost every business that is happening is either very inhuman or it is very sexualized. All right? Media, movies, songs, everything hypersexual. All right? Businesses, let's use AI, let's use this, let's use that, not thinking about the subsequent impact of a business on multiple layers and levels, whether it is just the happiness of your own team and employees, whether it is the way a customer feels after they are done with you, and what they send back towards you. So there's many ways in which that relation with ourselves is not sorted, because of which everything else that is happening in the world is very disconnected, while the illusion being sold to us is more of connection, easy communication, and convenience. But it's an illusion. All right? And the current time which we are entering, all of it is going to break down, and if you don't break it down for yourself, which will also involve pain, it'll happen via outside forces, and that's going to be way more painful. Okay? So, another thing he said, philosophers like Osho and guiding people like Acharya Prashant are hyper-feminists. Now, I don't know, because I haven't explored either. I've listened to maybe one or two videos of Osho. I 100% think, just from the vibe I got, that that person is very right in a lot of ways. Only I think he was born at the wrong time. And with Acharya Prashant, I have been told about him also by certain people, and a lot of people have said that we should talk together. But unfortunately, I can't comment because I haven't seen anything of his. But what I would say, if they have come across as hyper feminists to you, because I kind of understand their vibe, even if I have not watched their stuff, I would try to give my perspective on what I think they might be meaning versus the meaning this gentleman took, or a lot of you who might have taken. So, if Osho and Acharya Prashant are coming across as hyper feminists to you, in my opinion, that's a good thing. Why? I'm sure they are feminists, even if they are hyper, but they are not feminists. The feminazi species, which that transhumanistic virus which exists and uh, pops up on people's comment sections once in a while. I'm sure you're not talking about them, and you're talking about actual feminists. And I am happy if Osho and Acharya Prashant are feminists, because they will also be able to see, like, now let me come to what I think they must be meaning, because I think they would be probably able to see something similar to what I am able to see, where that feminine is being ripped apart from this world, in the sense that there is a lack of basic feminine qualities such as beauty, harmony, comfort in today's life. Now, let's just take India as an example. India is technically growing and becoming developed. I think it's just becoming a bigger slum, even if you have big IT parks. Uh, but I personally feel those IT parks are even more lifeless than the slums. And the slums are happening because of certain kinds of population growth, which are just idiotic to another level, and also very agenda driven in some cases. But simply that there is a lack of beauty from our life nowadays. And if you will go into the history of India, we were the most wealthy and prosperous and beautiful culture, and the oldest recorded civilization with the oldest recorded things still going on, and the most amount of excellence in any subject has actually taken place in this lovely land called Bharat, which since the past 400 500 years has gone downhill, especially with regards to poverty and a bunch of those things. But that has happened because we have embraced certain things. But anyway, now this is going to be a different topic and this thing, so let's not go that far. Let's just look at Osho and Acharya Prashant and what they're talking about. I feel they have also recognized that the feminine is under attack, just like how the masculine is also under attack. But they are probably coming across as feminist to you because they understand that that is the beautiful side of life. If we were just on the masculine side of life, it would be very dull. It will be great for progress, it will be great for breaking barriers, it will be great for reaching new frontiers and everything, and that is great. But it would be dull, all right. And it would not have love, because let's say union would be missing, because obviously we need healthy, beautiful, worthy feminine women in our lives. They bring love in our homes, they have been our mothers, and it just goes on and on. Their nature is to encompass and nourish. And as a man, like, it would end up becoming more and more lonely in certain ways, and I'm talking for regular citizen and regular ways of life, all right. So they are probably coming across as a feminist to you because they are understanding all of this, and they're understanding that the world today is such where the feminine power has been suppressed at very great levels, and they have been turned into masculine women. And hence there is a dissonance between masculinity and femininity and a bunch of other things. And I don't think them being hyper feminist means that they are against men in any sense. There comes a time in life where your identification with yourself will go beyond knowing yourself as just a man or a woman. But at your energetic level of signature, and at your sense of gracefulness, yes, you would remain a man or a woman. As I said, beyond a particular point that will dissolve, but like, you will remain a man or a woman in most contexts and situations while navigating through life. But please don't be worried about your own attractiveness or your own ability to get partners, simply because bring the focus on what I said and not on what is happening in the world. Because if today you will try to look at what is happening in the world from any perspective or any way, if you will try to look at all of it, it is bad and it is ugly, and there is suffering, silent suffering, there is distance, there is loneliness within families, within friends. It is very ugly what the ground reality is. But that's if you're only looking at the ground, and if you're not looking at everything else which permeates through what only your eyes can see. And if you want me to talk more on all of that, I can try to do that in a separate context and in a separate way. Some of my stuff is already out there on my own website under SK Talks. Then the meetups are there on the Freeman. The Indore Meetup recording is there, and the Poona Meetup will come out soon, where I've gone very deep into the nature of either pain or love, which is where I personally feel we have our most human experiences. All right. So he's saying he finds the situation very disturbing. I understand it is disturbing, but only at the first level where you understand and absorb it. You have to understand one thing, that if you are being disturbed, you are still part of the reality which is being choreographed, and you are not living in your own reality. For which that doesn't mean that you're going to go crazy or psycho, even though if you go to a doctor, they might say that. But the thing is that you have to come out of that particular reality, and whatever you believe in, and whatever, if your architecture of the mind is correct in terms of understanding the world and what is going on, and not just on one level, you will not get disturbed. You will only become aware. And if you become aware, you know where you want to be, not on any one side, where you want to be. All right. And accordingly, you end up becoming more authentic with time, and you end up embracing your own true essence more with time, whether it's masculinity, whether it's femininity, whether it's a mix. It doesn't matter. What matters is what is true. All right. And once that happens, you will be attractive to people, and you will be, sorted in a lot of ways. So because you've written, and my mental health is degrading, and I find myself in a society where males are demonized and treated like shit. Yeah, but then why are you a part of that society? That's your fault. And you will say, but how can I do something else? How do I live differently? How can I get apart from society? Bro, find your way. All of us are finding our way, and it is possible, and it is happening. I'm not a YouTuber, but like, because you have had glimpses of me over time, you can see for yourself how I have changed. All right. Like, it's in front of you people. And then you can look at YouTubers who are being YouTubers, and then you can look at how they might not have changed. And this is not to say that they're worse and I'm better, or I'm worse and they're better. This is just to say that you will become what you choose. But are you in control of your own choice, or are you not? Are you sleepwalking? Are you being choreographed? Are you thinking, oh my God, I need to make a career. Oh my God, I need to earn money. Oh my God, I need to do this. The moment you're thinking in that place, you have already fallen, my friend, and the devils are reigning over you. All right. I would really hope that you claim back your power, because nobody can take it away from you. Your mind, if it is continuously going to respond to fear, survival, threat level situations in any sense, you're just giving away your life force. So number one step is obviously get rid of Instagram. And even if you want to be connected to people like me or others, like, I'm the least active on Instagram compared to my own websites or my own Telegram, where there is no algorithm. So you can come there if you're worried about, getting disconnected from the world. No, motherfucker, you should get disconnected from the world, because most of the world is trash. And you should find your own beacons of light, your own places where you resonate that, yeah, this feels right to me. And then you connect with those people where they are. I know I'm in a position of loss since a long time, because but I can't fake it. I can't do something which doesn't come from my heart. And that is why I say fuck you to YouTube today. And that is, I say fuck you to Instagram today. And not just today. I've been doing it since a long time, if you've been connected with me since a long time. Because they are demonic. Sorry to say that, but that's true. Why am I sorry to say that? I mean, that was just a habit of language, but like, I'm actually not sorry to say that. It's something which people need to realize and people need to wake up to. All right. Because all of this which you're talking about, and what you're seeing on Instagram, like, women have no idea how much pain they have set themselves up for in the future. If you will listen to my recent coaching call recordings, which are going to come out on the Freeman University, you will see I have spoken about what is going to happen to women in comparison to men from this year onwards. I particularly sense a shift in the balance, because till today more men were suffering because of what women were changing into. But now that it has accumulated a bunch of time and karam according to it, I feel that that flip point has come now, because sooner or later, like, this is going to go very deep, but like, you can listen to the calls and you can, understand that. And literally, I'll give you one signification which happened, was that as soon as I said this, over the next few days, that incident happened where in India that mother killed her own 4-year-old child. That influencer who made something around how to take out money from a rich guy in a club, that happened, and everybody attacked her, which would have never happened in the past few years. Even if a woman would have done anything, they would have just done this blindly, because most of the guys did this thinking this would get them female attention, and most of the women were just making use of advantages which were being given to them on a plate. All right, because the nature of humans, especially the ones who don't like to put in any work, is that we are lazy. So anything which comes to our advantage, we use it. Like, for example, if I'm a super fat person, I would believe in the fat acceptance movement, and I would go and stand in the parade saying that, yeah, you should love fat people, they're beautiful, because it's in my advantage. All right, so just become aware of shit like this, man. You'll automatically do your own course correction in life. And I hope some of this stuff which I've just kind of touched light on has been helpful. And I really wish that you get out of this space, because as I said, what I want is that you guys have a good relation with the feminine inside of you as well as the feminine outside. That doesn't mean that it's women that you have good relations with. That means that feminine energy and that feminine spirit, because otherwise everything that the feminine spirit manifests via her form on this dhara, this planet, will disappear from your life. And trust me, that is a very ugly and sad life. I have been there for some times, all right? And it's not nice at all. But please understand that you are relating with the feminine at levels which go beyond the form of the female. And if you realize that, hopefully all of this will start reversing itself for you. Guys, I wanted to add a particular point. I don't know if it'll go in the same video or if this will come out separately. This is regarding the email that disturbed gentleman sent to me regarding what is happening to women and the imbalance between men and women. All right. So he said about Acharya Prashant and Osho basically coming across to him as hyper-feminists. And if they're coming across as a hyper-feminist, that basically he said that according to them, the end result of developed masculinity is war. Now you have to understand one thing, that if you will ever study history, we have had many wars, and war is not bad. You have to understand that what is the reason behind war. Now, for a nation like Bharat, what has happened is that we have never ever gone into war to attack. We have normally always gone into war to defend. And mostly, if you will analyze any other civilization in the world, you will see that they are the ones who have attacked. Like, for them, war is about conquest, because they would want the resources of another civilization in order to make sure that they keep growing or they feel more secure about themselves. So you have to understand, on one hand, you have to understand war as a phenomenon itself. On the other hand, when you say, according to them, end result of developed masculinity is war, you have to understand developed masculinity will never war for the wrong reasons. Developed masculinity would fight for women, children, anyone weak in not a position to defend themselves, etc. So developed masculinity or developed femininity would always fight for the right reasons. So you could also have women who, if they are in their correct feminine nature, they would have a good balanced relationship with their own inner masculine, and they would actually be the women who will stand behind these men when they go to war. All right, so war ends up becoming necessary over periods of time when the imbalance has gone way beyond any other method of correction, whether via politics, whether via democracy, etc. So please understand one thing, that neither is developed masculinity bad nor is war bad. I don't know what Osho and Acharya Prashant say on this. I've never explored their work, But I mean, it doesn't. I personally, I'm not sure if they have actually said this. That I have not seen their work, but the end result of developed masculinity is war. I don't really think that is true. All right, because if there is a man who's actually developed in his sense of mature masculine, he would, in most cases, actually avoid war and try to achieve a desired outcome via a million different methods before it comes down to regular actual war. All right. But like in the long run, whether it's feminine or masculine, like in order to add another bit to this particular video. So for those of you who have not seen that particular video, please see that before you see this, because this is an addendum to that. This is an addition to that. The future, right? There is going to be a massive resurgence of the feminine force. And that feminine force is first of all going to take revenge against its own primary manifested form, which is women. In my opinion, I could be wrong. But that feminine force is going to fight back because it's not being appreciated in the right way in today's world. For example, even money is a feminine force, all right? Those coming from Sanatan Dharma would understand that it represents the goddess Lakshmi, which is a sense of feminine consciousness, basically, along with other sense of feminine consciousnesses, such as Mahakali, Ma Saraswati, and Maheshwari, etc. All right, so you have to understand that money itself is a feminine force, but today the way money is being used is in the most immature masculine way, which is actually something that is a bandwagon that even women have jumped onto. So money is the new god, and the unfortunate thing is that it's an illusion, because those bits and pieces of whether it's paper or whether you go to an isolated island and they're dealing with a barter system of chickens and clothing or something, like, you have to understand the way we deal with money is that we deal with it in the tokenized form. We deal with it in the form where it is an instrument which we are using, where all of us believe that yes, this instrument has that much particular value, but in reality it does not. And that is unfortunately what most people are running behind, because certain forces which are programming this world want you to become enslaved to something which is non-human, in order for them to capture your human essence. All right. So femininity is being attacked in so many ways over time that it is going to rise back, and it is going to rise back maybe via men even, and maybe via women who will stand out to be true examples of how to live gracefully as a man or a woman. So developed masculinity, femininity, I don't know. I'm just talking about what I personally feel metaphysically will come in the future, is that the feminine spirit is going to take revenge in a lot of ways, because technically there is more feminine presence in the world in our context of navigating through life, because the nature of creation is feminine. But creation happens because of the masculine also, so actually they're both complementary to each other, but the forces which are being misused are the feminine forces, whether it is actual women, whether it is money, whether it is the absolute lack of beauty and comfort and harmony from our life. Because let's say we say that India is progressing and they will build 5-star hotels and IT parks, etc., which are modern flashy buildings, but they're right next to slums, or they're right next to a river which is completely polluted. So the feminine spirit is not stupid, because it is all encompassing and it is wholesome, and that is where it looks for its balance. It doesn't look for, oh, okay, so this is a 5-star hotel and the people who come here are basically rich. They might be rich in terms of money, but they will not have abundance or prosperity in their life if they personally think that that is what gives them value, and they are not able to live in, let's say, a simple 3-star hotel if need be. Please understand the nuances of what I'm talking about. They apply at many different levels. And that is why, even if you're afraid of people like Osho or Acharya Prashant, because according to you, you are thinking, what? They have written to focus only on female children, because according to them, the end result of developed masculinity is war. Well, the focus should be on children overall, whether female or male, because the males, when very young, are having smartphones, and the ones sitting in villages are just addicted to porn, and that is their first ever exposure to technology and 4G and smartphones, etc. What is happening with women is that they are being programmed to believe that showing your skin is completely fine at levels where you dehumanize yourself. And this is nothing against sex, this is nothing against bodies, this is nothing against that way which I'm talking right now. I'm talking about basically making a human being take actions of which they themselves are going to be ashamed or humiliated by themselves in the future. All right, which leads to a split or a fragmentation in their own identity or in their own sense of self, the way they look at themselves, because then there is one part of themselves which hates their another part of themselves. um, yeah. So I have a feeling a lot of the correction which will happen in the world will happen because of the feminine force rising, but I also feel that the masculine is obviously a key role in this, and that is why I have spoken in some recent coaching calls which will come out on the Freeman University, where I think starting this year onwards, a lot of things are going to change for men and women, and they're actually going to flip. Men are going to end up having more power, but this is not the men who are aspiring to become business tycoons or government politicians. I'm talking about men who will no longer lust behind screens, men who will no longer think of themselves as useless just because they're not having sex opportunities in their life. And the list just goes on. So basically, men will take back their power instead of completely losing it all the time to a bunch of places, including porn. And when men will automatically not invest in women, a lot of women will have to course correct themselves. But there are also a lot of women who are not visible to us, because obviously the Instagram algorithm will not like a woman who is behaving as a woman. So they are not visible to us, but all of them will come out from the shadows, because if your energy state changes, you will be able to come across them and you will see that there is still beauty in the world. And primarily, I want to bring back the attention to overall all of our relations with the masculine or the feminine in terms of spirit, not in terms of bodies. Please keep it healthy. Please understand its complete nature within as well as without you, so that you don't end up falling into any of the traps which are being laid out for all of us in the world. And if you want me to speak more on this, let me know. We might also be doing a very something very soon, where on my own personal website I would like to do a live Q&A with a bunch of you, because I personally can't make videos for YouTube or Instagram. It just doesn't come to me, because I know those are places where real creativity is not appreciated, and there are agendas, and there's a lot of corruption over there. And they are basically weapons. They are weaponized technologies being used against mankind in a lot of ways. So yeah, that's it. You can check out the work, and you can check out my website when this live Q&A thing comes. Or best is to sign up to my Telegram, which is free, where that's the place where I can put out authentic expression that I can't put on these places. Ciao.